Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about why fall and winter of 2023 will be the two most important seasons in the 50 years of Dungeons and Dragons history. Absolutely incredible, and I think we're really hitting we're hitting a Stonehenge moment in Dungeons and Dragons history, and that is, I won't bury the lead. Let's get right to it. That is coming from the Hollywood Writers' Strike and from SAG, Screen Actors Guild Strike. Hollywood is shutting down. We have never seen anything like this in my entire lifetime. I don't think the Hollywood Writers' Strike mattered to anybody. Like, most people were like, you guys haven't written anything good in years, right? Like, who cares that you're on strike? And also, I'm gonna try to make this as neutral as possible, because we don't even need to get into the politics of this, right? To understand the importance of Dungeons and Dragons. So, I don't think the American public were highly moved by the writer's strike, and that's not really my opinion. That's a fact. Almost every time the writers would get on, they would say, hey, we know you guys really don't, it doesn't matter a lot to you because you think we're all millionaires, right? And we did know that, like, some scripts sold for millions, right? The Screen Actors Guild, man, like Tom Cruise going on strike, that's a big deal, right? Like, Jennifer Lawrence going on strike, that's a big deal, right? Ryan Gosling, people gonna listen, right? Like, these are the megastars, right? And if they're saying, hey, we are on strike, that's going to matter, right? And it, again, I really don't think the writer's strike mattered at all, right? But between the writer's strike and the Screen Actors Guild strike, Hollywood has functionally ground to an absolute halt, right? And actually, yeah, Hollywood is shut down right now. It's shut down there. Like, you cannot shoot anything for the big or small screen. Now get this, one thing that is really fascinating is there is an exception here for video games. Video games are unimpacted and will be able to continue to deliver entertainment for people, right? Now the reality is, I don't think that matters much, and the reason why is video games are absolutely saturated. They can't get any more fans because they literally have almost every fan in the earth. You can't. There's no one who's like, maybe I should try out video games, or they have converted their people. They have their groups, and I don't think the strike is going to help video games at all, right? Plus, video games are absolutely terrible at writing and acting, so there's not going to be anything really beneficial for people when they go to video games to sate their desire for entertainment. That is not the case for Dungeon Masters, right? So this is going to be the most important time for all of Dungeons and Dragons history, and we are about to see a higher demand. And actually, not only are we about to see the largest demand for dungeon mastering that has ever hit the planet Earth, we are about to become essential workers. All right. So let me explain why this is so important. Okay. So first of all, I'm not going to discuss the politics of this strike, and the reason why is they're irrelevant to my point. Right? I have very high opinions on the specific politics of what's involved, and blue red, and I have a million opinions on the politics of them, but they don't matter, right, for what we're about to talk about. Okay, so first of all, and again, I'm trying to avoid, I'm not going to discuss politics. Right now, Americans are under amazing strain, just outrageous strain. We are under nuclear threat every single minute of the day. Vladimir Putin last year was like, if you guys do the wrong thing, if you interact in Ukraine in the wrong way, I will nuke your nation, right? So every single and actually, like, most Americans, I know this now, and most Americans know exactly how far they are from a strike point at this point. There's literally maps that you can look up, and my kids did it, your kids did it, right, and then brought the maps to you, and like, this is what's going to happen when this nuke hits here, right? It's all over, right? Like, Americans literally know how far they are from each of the strike points. We're under that much threat. So America has never been under more of a nuclear threat than right now, right? In addition to that, most Americans, our economics have massively changed, right? Most Americans don't even whisper about buying a house. It's not even discussed by most Americans. And most Americans, like, fear losing their vehicle because a vehicle purchase is the same level as a house purchase was 3 years ago, right? In 2019, right? That's a huge change, absolutely. And so most Americans don't have money. They're burning their savings. They're under massive physical threat from Russia, right? And the country is terrified. This is the worst possible time for America to be without entertainment. And soon there will be nothing. It will be a ghost land. There will be nothing to watch. There'll be no fresh fruit. All that's going to be left is a bunch of rotten, stale junk you've already watched, right? It's just rotten fruit, right? And nobody wants it, right? And nobody's going to want to watch rotten, partake in rotten fruit when they're under massive threat, right? That's where you as a dungeon master come in, right? So so the reality is we can be the bridge that carries America over the wasteland of the 2023 Hollywood shutdown, right? It's going to be horrific. There has never been a higher demand there's never been a more noble, real, genuine need for Americans to be entertained, right? And Hollywood is saying, nope, do not care. You're shut up. You're shut down, right? Nothing for you. Go eat your rotten fruit, right? Like fresh produce is no longer available, right? And so there is this. So basically, a storyteller, an entertainer, someone who can bring a narrative with significance, meaning, and purpose is not just a dungeon. We are dungeon masters, right? But with Dungeon Master, we now take on the crown of essential worker, right? We have to tell these stories. And I think immediately, the first thing we're going to do is I think we need to, I absolutely despise this. I don't want to say it, but I think it's only responsible. Every Dungeons & Dragons table should go to 7 players immediately. And the reason why is the optimum amount of players at your table is 4. Some tables stretch to 5, right? But the reality is there's going to be such a demand for fresh narrative, right? For fresh stories with meaning, purpose, and significance that we just cannot keep our table small. So I think every Dungeons & Dragons table, physical table game, needs to immediately go to 7 players. It's just the reality of it, and we need to, start bringing in people that we weren't bringing in before. It's very, very important. And also, I do think and also, what do we do as dungeon masters? The other thing as a dungeon masters, I think we need to reach out to 2 of our players who are currently at our tables and say, I'm requesting you to get on the front lines. I'm requesting for you to quit playing in my Dungeons & Dragons game and start running another Dungeons & Dragons game for new people, right? Because the terror that is going to hit America when it has no narratives, no stories, no tales of meaning, purpose, and significance, right? It is going to be horrific. It is going to be, in my opinion, just my opinion, I think people are about to descend into pits of woe, worry, and sorrow, the likes of which we have never seen before in the history of America, right? And I think the reason why is I don't think people have any idea how important Hollywood is. I do. I like these Hollywood stories are incredible. What am I going to do with no new Batman stories, right? Like, how am I going to deal with a year without Batman? My hero, right? Like the one of the most powerful narrative linchpins that's ever existed, right? It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough, and I'll tell you right now, it ain't been easy lately. Right? I don't think a lot of Americans. I don't think you have any idea how much strain Americans are under right now. I think Americans put on a good face, but I can tell you, people are hurting. People are hurting, right? It is just, parents looking down at their kids, like just saying in their minds, "You're never going to own a home, ever," right? Like, I hope you'll be able to buy a car someday. I hope you'll be able to buy eggs next week, right? It's just a different world, right? So, as Dungeon Masters, this is the time right now, man. Like, this is where we step up and fill this gap. And I honestly believe right now, the date this starts, okay, is July 14th, 2023 was the day that being a Dungeon Master went to being an essential worker, because Hollywood darkened every door and said, you will get nothing new, right? And it's the day that Hollywood shut down. And I'm telling you, I don't think there's ever been a SAG and a writer's strike at the same time, right? And it was bad before, when it was just a writer's strike, right? And so what you're about to see are just you will be staring into the abyss of sorrow, woe, and suffering for Americans. And we have a chance to do something about it. We were equipped. We've been given the most powerful tool in the world to tell stories of meaning, purpose, and significance. And I think we really need to step up right now. Every single word of that is my humble opinion. What's important is when I get to hear your humble opinion, when you get in the comments and send your traffic.